Hello, I'm Scott Morris, and welcome to Classical Guitar Complete. I'm here at Guitar Salon International in Santa Monica, California, and this is the ongoing video blog series, which is sort of a video companion to my book, Classical Guitar Complete, From Basics to Bach. And today we are talking about a piece from the 18th century. It's not by Bach, but by a composer not too many people know named Ernst Gottlieb Baron, who is criminally overlooked. And if you're looking for music to play as sort of a stepping stone into maybe some Bach cello suites or lute suites, this is a composer you definitely want to look at, sort of a Bach light, if you will. This is a minuet from one of his sonatas. And he uses the term sonata, but it's the same as a dance suite or partita. Some people call it. It's confusing, all the different terminology, but it's basically a lute suite. And this is one of the movements from that. So, a couple things I want to talk about when introducing music of the 18th century or Baroque music. Number one, I think it's really important that we understand what musical texture is. I think too many guitar players just try to play the notes and don't think too much about what that is. And there are really three musical textures, and I'll just quickly demonstrate each one. When you're learning music, you should always be aware of what the musical texture is. The first is called monophonic, and monophonic it's simple, really doesn't even require a demonstration here. If you were to just hum a melody all by yourself without any sort of accompaniment, that's monophonic. So, sing a song to yourself, and that's a monophonic texture. Homophonic would be a melody with accompaniment. So if you were to sing a song and maybe strum chords or something like that, or maybe do a little, and then sing a melody on top of that, that's homophonic. So it's melody with accompaniment. Polyphonic is what we're really talking about here. This is music of the late Baroque as well as Renaissance, and it's not necessarily only there, but primarily. So how is this polyphonic texture used in this piece? Well, the one thing that I'd really like to point out is it has three voices. There's a bass line, there's a middle voice, and there's a top line. And I think when learning a piece like this, it's really important to be familiar with each one of those melodies on its own. And in Baroque music, the bass is really important. This basso continuo, which was there for really the entire Baroque. So here's the bass line. I won't play the whole thing, but just enough to give you an idea here. So there's more or less the bass line there. Then you've got this sort of middle voice here. Right? And then this top voice. Okay, and sometimes you can debate, well, that's more part of this voice or that voice. There's a lot of crossover. But that's not something you should get too hung up on. So if I play the first few measures here, I really want to try to do is make sure each one of those lines remains intact. So I want to hear, and I want to hear, and I want to hear, all happening at the same time. So, make a long story short, just don't think about them as this chord going to this chord, going to this chord, going to this chord, because that's not the way the composer was thinking about it. He was thinking about this line with this voice continuing on, and it's happening simultaneously with this line, and it's something you should be aware of when you're playing music of this period. A couple other little things here that I'd just like to briefly mention. One, there are these nasty little leaps down here when you get down to measure 23. Those little guys right there. What I'd recommend doing here is looking with your eyes to where your hand needs to go. So you've got these little chords here, no problems there. But now I've got to move all the way up here. So that's, the 8th and 7th fret. I'm going to look with my eyes, then go up, and then move back. It's like if you were throwing a dart at a dartboard, what do you look at? You look at the dartboard. If you look at the dart, and then, you're going to hurt somebody. So look at your target. And you'll be a lot less likely to miss that. One other little thing with this piece to look out for is at the very end, where you've got some real tricky left-hand stuff here. I think the thing to do is just to go slowly. So here's what I do. And then here, use 3 as a guide finger, slower up to the A, and here's the tricky bit. Keep that C down, get the D here, and then move 1 and 2 while holding that D down with 3, and now you're back into position. So it's just this little contortion. It's not incredibly hard, but it's not the most intuitive fingering either. And I think whenever you get into something like that, where it's a little bit of like, twister, that you do it slowly and you're consistent with your fingerings. If you're consistent with your fingerings, then you'll get really good at them eventually. But if you're winging something like that, it's not going to go very well. So if you've got a really tricky spot, break it down and make sure you've got a logical fingering for that. So again, thank you for your attention. I hope you enjoy this piece by Baron. By the way, there are a bunch of other movements to this little suite here. I think 7 movements, something like that. So this is just one. Recommend you look at the rest of the sonata if you're so interested. And this is on page 93 in Classical Guitar Complete. Thanks.